Some people hate the Apple Card. Some people love the Apple Card. Me, I see this card as extremely convenient considering the way that you use it, how you earn points. But I understand the people who don't like it, but I also see the people that finds it to be very useful. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly why I believe the Apple Card is one of the best credit cards, because I don't see other credit cards taking advantage of what I've seen the Apple Card do. And this video is very similar to a video I already filmed in the past, which I will link up here and you can watch after this one. But this video is more geared towards the payment wheel. Basically the thing you see if you have the Apple Card and you wanted to pay your balance. But let's dive deeper into it. And again, like I said, I filmed an extremely similar video to this. If you want to know more information about the Apple Card, then I would highly recommend that you check out that video, because this video is going to be more on the payment wheel because I find it to be extremely fascinating. And not only that, I actually have a very high balance on my Apple Card currently at the time, and I felt, what is a better time to take advantage of this to be able to explain it to other individuals? And I will be using my personal wallet app in order to show you exactly how this payment wheel works. So whenever I open up my wallet app, I can see that my current balance is sitting at $3,356.01. And basically that is how much I owe back on the Apple Card. That's the payment I have to pay in order to be clear of debt on the Apple Card. And I have an available balance of $667.69 currently at the moment, meaning I have some pending charges on the card currently as I make this video. My total credit limit on the Apple Card is $4,250 even. And yes, it's not the highest credit limit, but I don't really need that high of a credit limit. And I talked about this in the last video. And you also will notice there are a lot of things going on inside of the wallet app. Like I said, if you watch that other video, I do go in more detail explaining what all those things mean. But in this video, we're going to focus on the payment wheel, which will be in the tab that says minimum payment received. To avoid interest charges, an additional $1,575.15 is due by February 28th. And basically, that's pretty self-explanatory. If I do not pay that $1,575.15 by February 28th, then I will have interest put on my credit card balance, which isn't a good thing. But here's where the payment wheel is such a beautiful tool. Once you finally open the payment wheel, and by the way, the payment wheel isn't the official thing that Apple calls this tool. I just kind of call it that because it's the simplest thing to call it and it makes the most sense. And plus, during my research for this video, that's the phrase they use, but it's not officially confirmed by Apple that payment wheel is the phrase used for this, but I will use it throughout the video. But as soon as you open up the payment wheel window, what the app automatically does is it rotates over to the balance or the amount that you should pay in order to avoid any interest. So the app is already trying to help you avoid any interest charges by putting it already at $1,575.15. If I'm willing to pay that balance now, then I can avoid all interest charges. Most credit cards won't do that for you. They will tell you what balance you have to pay, your statement balance and stuff of that nature, but they don't explain it in the way that Apple explains it. But let me break it out a little further. So the first thing you see when you open this up is choose amount. Basically the amount that you want to pay on your credit card balance. And I'm going to show you more detail on this as well as we go further into it. And it's super interesting. I really like the way that they created this tool. But the next thing you see is make payments by 11:59 p.m. on February 28th. And they're saying make that payment $1,575.15 by February 28th before 11:59 p.m. to avoid any interest charges. That's what they're basically trying to say in that sentence. Then underneath, you see the payment wheel. With that payment wheel, you actually can move it around with your finger when you hit on that little green check right there to whatever amount that you want to put it at and pay it. but there are some consequences, which you will see here shortly. Then underneath there, it says pay January balance. Paying your monthly balances keep your financial status healthy because you avoid interest charges, which I heavily agree with that phrase. Let's say you move the payment wheel slightly. I got it here at $1,400 even, and you can see underneath there where it had no interest, it now has interest. It has interest that's at the amount of $27 even. That's because you're not paying that balance of the $1,575.15 that the Apple Card recommended to avoid that interest charge. So like I said, that's not your overall full balance that you need to pay off, but it's the amount that you need to pay by this date to avoid interest. So you do not pay any interest on your card, so you can make sure it's all beneficial. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's how I would avoid paying any interest charges. I went slightly down on the payment wheel once more. I got it down to $1,250 even, and now my interest is at $30.04. As you can see, the lower my payment is, my overall payment, then my interest also goes up because I'm not paying the balance that was recommended by the Apple Card. So this is something that you want to make sure you keep an eye on, but this is something you can see with the Apple Card. Using the payment wheel, I got to see things I wasn't able to see with other credit card companies. So this is something I have to say is a very phenomenal tool. Obviously, I know there's some people that has been in the credit card game their entire life and don't need things like this, and good for you guys. But for those individuals who are learning or people who just like simplicity, this is a beautiful tool. And another thing you'll notice is that the color of the actual payment wheel line changes. So you seen it at green when we had it at the $1,575.15. It was green and checked off because you would avoid interest. And Apple is trying to show you that with the payment wheel. But if we were to go to the overall balance, then it'll turn blue with a star, meaning basically this is the best option. You avoid everything. And that's kind of what they kind of promote you to do. They kind of nudge you to go ahead and pay the entire balance off. Let's go to another suggested point by Apple, which mine is sitting at $228.85 with a amount of interest of $50.80. And to be honest with you, those points that Apple suggest on the Apple Card, I don't exactly know what they mean. So if you do know, comment below, let me know, let the people know that's watching the video. And also another point I want to make at this point is if you see that the payment wheel line is still yellow at this point, if I go further back, you will see that the color of the payment wheel line will change to red. And so now I have the payment wheel at $50 even. And this is the lowest payment that I could pay on my Apple Card balance, but I will accumulate a interest of $54.44 if I only pay $50 and wait until the next statement period. So it's not smart for me to pay this $50 balance right now and wait until the next statement period because I would accumulate that $54.44. So the smartest thing for me to do is to pay the $1,575.15. And I don't want to say that with no thought in mind that, oh, okay, you're just going to pay that balance. But if you have the money, if you're in a financial position to pay that balance, the best way to go about that would to be to pay that so you can avoid any interest and the benefits that you gain from the Apple Card, like the 3% category or the 2% category or even the 1% category, you actually get the benefits from there. Another thing about paying the lowest balance, because like I said, $50 is the lowest amount I could pay to my Apple Card balance. It also changes underneath where it say lower your interest charges. It says increasing your payments now or making additional payments this month will lower your interest rate, which, like I was showing you, the lower the payment you pay, the higher your interest rate will start to accumulate. So if you pay a higher balance than the $50, once you go above a certain threshold, your interest rate will start to drop dramatically. But like I said, you want to try to avoid interest at all costs. So whatever price you have to pay in order to avoid that, that's what I would suggest. And that's pretty much the payment wheel that the Apple Card offers. And like I said, this is a terrific tool for beginners, for people who like simplicity and people who like things that are clean and actually explain things to a certain point. But with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.